What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna be going over the equipment that I use to shoot my YouTube videos and how you can start making your YouTube videos today. All right, so like I said, we're gonna be going over all the equipment that I use and exactly how I shoot my videos, all the equipment that I use, and I just wanna let you know all of the links for all of these items will be down in the description below if you are interested in checking any of these out on Amazon. And besides that, let's get right into this video. So I'm gonna take you guys right along with me over here to my camera bag. So this has everything in here that I use to actually film the videos. And this camera that I'm using right now, I can't obviously show you it right now because I'm filming this video, but I will say that I did start out YouTube using just my phone. So up until about a year ago, I literally used my phone for every single video. And what you can do is get a tripod like one of these here. This is just a mini tripod from Manfrotto that you can get, and it has a little phone attachment that you can put on top of it to be able to go ahead and film yourself. Now, obviously the audio is not going to be the best out of your phone, but if you are just looking to get started, you maybe don't even know if you 100% want to make YouTube videos, you just kind of want to get your feet wet, try it, and see if you enjoy doing it, then start with your phone, because I don't recommend anybody spend, hundreds or thousands of dollars on equipment before actually, realizing that this is something that you want to do, because next thing you know, you buy all this stuff, you don't make any videos, and now you've just wasted all this money. Yeah, you can sell it, but used items are not going to go anywhere near the price that obviously something brand new is. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. If you are just considering starting, just start with your phone. These cameras are really good nowadays. They shoot in 4K, they shoot in 1080, which is more than enough. So, all right, so we are going to hop right into this. We're gonna start with the main camera body that I use. This is the Sony A7s Mark II. So this we've had back since 2017. It got in late 2017. I've used it ever since. This is the camera that I use for all of my videos where I'm talking face-to-face to the camera. And this is just my main camera that I use for all my client work, YouTube videos, all that good stuff. The only time when I do not use this camera and I use this one instead is when I want to have something that has a flip out screen. That is the one downside to this camera, is there is no flip out screen. It tilts up, and that's pretty much about it. Tilts down a little bit as well, but no actual like flip out screen. So you can't actually see yourself when you're filming without an external monitor. The other issue with this camera is the autofocus is not very good. So on this camera, you really have to see the screen to know that you're in focus, or use manual focus if that's something that you want to use. So this would be a good camera for anybody who is, looking to have a professional camera for like a studio setup. If you have a separate room where you're gonna have YouTube videos done, this would be a great option for you. But there is newer cameras out there that I would probably recommend over this one. The Sony A7 III is a great camera. The Sony A7R III and R4 that just came out pretty recently are great cameras. The thing that makes this setup actually shine the most is the lens on here. So this is a 24-70 2.8 lens that's on here. And this lens is amazing. It's super crisp. This lens allows you to get the nice out of focus, creamy, soft background that you get whenever you use one of these cameras. That comes from the aperture of the camera, for those of you that aren't familiar with it. So this is a 2.8. So the lower the aperture, the more of a blurry background you're going to get. So if I set this to 5.6 instead of 2.8, the background is going to become more in focus, and you're not going to have that out of focus blur background that you would if you set it to a 2.8. So this lens is relatively fast. There are some that are 1.2s, 1.4, 1.8, but this one is fantastic for the zoom that it provides. On here I also have an ND filter. As you can see, the front of the camera is black right now. So this is basically sunglasses for your camera. So you can see there's the actual lens now. You can see the glass. And this is basically, like I said, sunglasses for your camera lens. So this one is an ND variable filter, so you can make it darker. You can adjust it there. And this comes in handy for when you're shooting outside during the day, whenever you're shooting in a very bright situation. If you've used cameras before, you know that typically the skin, the whiter you are or the more sun you have directly on your skin, everything gets very blown out and you can't really see any details in the image anymore. So this helps to prevent that. This allows just less light into the camera to help you not get anything blown out. So this is my main camera again, Sony A7s II with a 24-70 G Master lens. And I will put links for these down in the description if you want to check them out. The other thing that I use with those would be, this is my main microphone that I use as a shotgun mic. So whenever I'm vlogging, whenever I am kind of walking around with the camera, this is usually the one I use. Right now we're using a wireless, but this is usually the one that I use if I'm gonna be right in front of it and out and about, out wherever. So this is a Rode Video Micro, and a lot of people ask me about the furry ball on top. It's called a dead cat, so all it does is protect from the wind. So this is what the mic actually looks like without, let's see if we can focus there. This is what the mic looks like without the dead cat on. I guess it's not gonna focus, but I put that on there. I pretty much always keep it on. It is a little obnoxious, that's the only thing I will say about it, but it is relatively small compared to a lot of the other microphones out there. And the sound quality is good, and this one is only like 60 bucks. So it's simple, it's easy, you don't have to turn anything on, you just plug it in and you are good to go. The other thing that I use a lot, we'll get into, would be this here. This is my main tripod. This is a Manfrotto. I don't know the exact model, but again, the link will be down in the description. But this one gets extremely extendable. You can see it has the four different levels on there to adjust everything. And as well as you have a nice little knob here, so you can extend it even more once you max it out. So this tripod is really great for anything, really. It has the flexibility to move the camera up and down. You have the flexibility to move the camera, angled a little bit if you want to shoot it sideways or you want to get some different angles. This allows you to go ahead and do that. And it's just super easy, really easy to use and really convenient. I think this one was about 100 bucks. There are some that are more expensive. There's some that are cheaper, but for the price and everything that this one has done, I would say give this one a go. So after you get into that, here's just a second lens that I have for the Sony camera. And this is just a 35mm 2.8 lens. So this would be a prime lens. This means that it is a fixed focal length. So you're not able to zoom in and zoom out like we're doing now. This camera, you would have to get closer and further away to the subject to actually get more in your frame and your viewfinder. Whereas with this lens, as is the one that I'm using here, this one does extend, so it allows you to zoom in and zoom out without actually moving your physical person, which is nice. Whereas, like I said, this one's gonna be fixed and you're not gonna be able to, I would not be able to do that at all on this lens. So these are typically sharper, but they're not as versatile, but this is a good lens nonetheless. Of course, we have our Joby Gorillapod. This is pretty much a staple for anybody who does YouTube. You've probably seen many people walking around with their cameras on these. And it's just cool because it allows you to have some flexibility in the tripod. So you can wrap it around things, you can put it on a fence, you can do all that stuff. The one thing I will say about it though, is over time it does kind of weaken. So I have had some issues in the past where I've had it set up and the legs will actually start to fall because they've just been worn so much. And if you have something like, this camera on here and it tips over, you could potentially crack your lens, and this lens is very expensive. So that's not something that I would want to happen to that lens. So it is something to be aware of when you start using these more and more. They do wear down. They don't really stay strong for very long. I've had this one for about 2 years, but I know some people who replace these every 6 months if you use them a lot. I just don't use this that often, so it's been able to last me pretty long. We're gonna go back to this tripod here really quick because I just wanna show you this little extension here. So like I said, if you're just starting out with YouTube, this is literally all that you need. This tripod will cost you like $15, $20 at the most, and you can go ahead and get started and start making videos, start recording yourself, start getting comfortable on the camera. Again, this is what I used for almost over a year, maybe even more than a year, honestly, probably about almost 2 years before I even had any of this equipment. So always just use what you have. Don't overthink any of this. Like as you start building subscribers, as you start wanting to get more creative, as you start realizing that this is something that you truly do want to do, then dump in more money and invest and get better quality and get better products and be able to put out better content ultimately. But start with that. And the next thing that I'll say is you're gonna need some sort of an SD card to record onto. You're gonna need to save your footage. I have a 128, and then in this camera we have a 64. So you definitely wanna have at least 2 of these. You wanna have a main one and a backup one. So I have 2 of these. You're gonna need plenty of batteries. So I've got, for this Sony, it burns batteries really, really easily. So I've got the 3 total batteries here, and there is another battery actually in the camera. And then for the Canon camera here, we just have 1 extra battery, and there is 1 inside of the camera currently. So 2 of those seems to do pretty good for vlogging purposes. All right, and the next thing I wanna get into is I'm actually gonna show you guys this camera and go over a little bit more about this camera. So I'm gonna switch over to the phone really quick, so the audio might not be as good, but I wanna show you this camera and how it all works. All right, and we are now on the iPhone. So as you can see, it's not a huge quality difference. It still looks really good. The most important thing when it comes to filming, when it comes to capturing video, is your lighting. As you can see, I have really good natural lighting coming in right now that allows the best picture and just looks the best overall, and it's gonna allow you the most flexibility. So this is the other camera right here, and I actually do still have it recording because I'm gonna pull the audio from here and sync it up to here. So the audio should still be pretty good, but this is a Canon M50, and on top I have the wireless receiver for the audio, and then I'm wearing the wireless mic, which has a receiver right down here. So this camera is awesome for the price. This camera shoots 1080p, 720p, and it shoots 4K. The 4K though is going to zoom in quite a bit. So I'm not a huge fan of the 4K for that reason. I mostly just shoot in 1080. And the other thing is you lose your dual pixel autofocus, which is Canon's flagship autofocus system, which works really well. So basically in simple terms, your autofocus is not going to work good in 4K on this camera. So if 4K is a deal breaker to you, then I probably would not invest in this camera. But for this camera, it is an amazing camera. This you can buy right now, I believe, for right around $600 with a lens and the body. So everything you'd get for $600, you would obviously need to pay for a microphone, tripod, any other things, accessories, SD cards, batteries will be separate, but this camera will run you about 600 bucks and you could have a full professional setup, and it works really, really well. So that is my camera setup for you guys. Let me know any other questions that you have about the equipment. If you guys want to know maybe how I edit my videos, I can do a video about that as well. But I wanted to give an overview of all the equipment because I've been getting a ton of questions from you guys about editing. And like I said, I've been getting questions from you guys asking, you know, what do I use and what do you recommend? Because there's a few of you that are actually interested in starting a YouTube channel. You just don't really know where to start or what to do. So hopefully this helped you guys out. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any other questions, comments, concerns, drop down below and make sure you subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. Thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next video.